Welcome to another episode of Music Musings. As always, I'm your host, Derek, and with me live in person today is Pat. Pat, how are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. I'm trying to enjoy a little bit before the second round of the snowstorm that hits New York City. Blesses us.
Yeah, please just don't talk about that. If you live in New York, we're recording this on, what is this?
Saturday
the 21st.
Yep.
Impending doom. They keep telling us we're now supposed to get, 18 inches of snow?
Okay, so the number just keeps jumping. I heard 12, now we're 18. Yeah. Great.
It's not, they're actually asking people to come. They will pay you, like volunteer, to shovel. Do you hear about this? Yeah.
No, this is news to me.
Yeah, they're asking citizens to come out and volunteer.
This is a perfect opportunity for people who have snowblowers. This is your moment to shine. If you have a snowblower, please do all of us a favor and help us out.
Get out there. Your civil duty. No, that's not your civil duty. So really not excited about that, but hopefully that doesn't happen. But it most likely will. So that's fine. You know what? We're going to be snowed in. It's going to be great.
So great. Gives the opportunity to listen to some great albums and music.
Some vinyls and
oof. All right.
Yeah, actually, all right. I'm about this. So today we're talking about a very fun topic today. Indie rock versus alt rock. What is the difference? Which, to be honest, I've never really thought about deeply. What are the differences here? So I'm excited to talk about it. And, talk about some of the bands that I grew up listening to, and I'm sure you've also listened to, and decide, what makes a band either indie or alt or both or neither.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Let's see where we go with that.
So, but before we get into it, we got to talk about what we've been listening to this week.
All right. Let's go. You want to take the lead on this one?
Yeah. All right.
Go for it.
I'll start it. I've been still listening to Somber. Homewrecker.
12 and 12.
12 to 12.
12, yeah.
All the music's by him. It's just fun, dancey music. So he's still in my rotation. Also been listening a lot to Yellowcard. Their new album, which is not so new, it came out last year, but they recorded it with Travis Barker and his label. And he's also played on a few of the songs on the album, which is cool.
That sounds great.
It's a lot of fun. Big 2000s, punk pop energy, fast, punchy lyrics.
Hey, you need that. I miss that. Yeah.
So a lot of fun. I'm also seeing them. They're playing at the Stone Pony this summer, sometime in June.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's going to be fun. I've never actually seen them live.
Really? Okay.
Ever. So this will be my first time seeing them live.
Do you think they're going to be playing tracks off this the new album?
I mean, I hope so, but I also hope they're playing, their big hits.
Of course. Ocean Avenue, 100%.
Otherwise, I'm going to walk out. Why am I there? So that's fun. And then I've been listening a lot to Jon Bellion's new album, Father Figure.
Yep.
It's kind of creeped back into my rotation. I didn't like this album, to be honest, at first. It was a little different for him, but I've gotten into it. And a lot of, I think the songs are very well written lyrically, but also composed well. And how he designed, the emotional effect within each of these songs and how they're connected. So if you haven't listened to it, Father Figure, Jon Bellion, go do it.
Yeah.
It's an awesome album.
I get you. That's good. That's good.
It's my rotation. How about you?
Yeah, bro. Let's see. For the past week, I've been diving into a little bit of R&B a little bit more lately. So we'll start off with my one of my favorites, Jill Scott. She put out an album about 2 weeks ago called To Whom This May Concern. You got a couple of features on there. It's pretty good. Production was great. It felt like a neo soul, like a love letter to neo soul R&B to me. I love that. So been vibing with that lately. And obviously my second person, which we have talked about thousands of times, the Bad Bunny. Obviously fantastic Super Bowl performance. I'm sorry, halftime show, should I say. And it was fantastic. I love that him is getting a shine, as well as Latin culture and music, which always has the most infectious groove and rhythm, in my opinion. And I've been listening to some of his older work, like a lot of his previous albums and some singles, but I can't get away with it. Just can't help. Doing a little bit of bachata when no one's looking.
Of course.
But yeah. Next on the list is a indie band or artist that I discovered recently. It's a girl. It's called Girl in Red is the name of the group or the artist. And the song I've been really interested in is We Fell in Love in October. It's
okay.
It's indie, hence like we're going to talk about it later on this episode. But indie rock for some reason, I don't know what it is. I love alt rock, metal, and indie, but for some reason that indie sound makes for a little bit of folk. I don't know. It just grabs me. It's like a magnet to my ears. But last but not least, J. Cole. I've been listening to the new album, The Fall Off. Social media has been already saying it's album of the year contender,
really?
and it's phenomenal. Okay. J. Cole does a very good job with his lyrics. He does a very good job of trying to make a theme or a message with his music. One of my favorite songs on the album, I think, is called Safety, which it's his version of like Eminem's Stan, where he tells the story in the song as if a fan was writing to him, telling him like who grew up with him, who saw him in the neighborhood and saw his growth as as an artist and as a friend, tells him about what's going on in the neighborhood, the local friends that they knew, talks about like, oh, my daughter falls asleep to your music. That's how important you are to us. Anyway, if you have a chance, listen to the album. It's phenomenal. It's a great job. J. Cole always delivers, in my opinion. But we'll stop there.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think I got to listen to this J. Cole album. I haven't heard it yet, so excited to dig into that.
Yeah.
But let's get into our first segment here of talking about what even is alternative rock.
Right.
And growing up, this is primarily what I listen to. So I'll take a little bit of the lead here with this. But alternative rock, similar to I think popular music, pop music, it's a general umbrella of a certain type of sound, right? And it can include subgenres like grunge, alternative pop. But it's usually very fast driving, guitar driven, distorted riffs, and at times like punk elements. So like the tempo, the speed, all within that can be part of it. Usually has some emotional themes in the lyrics with rebellious energy. I'm thinking of like even Rage Against the Machine. All kind of wrapped into that sound. And it really emphasizes the artists themselves rather than having this like perfectly polished radio ready sound. And it has a lot of emotional lyrics, like we said, but really guitar driven. And I think also like lead vocal driven and pushed. Right. So it was really came about in the early 80s, 90s. And it was alternative music to what was popular at the time. That's alternative came from. And it really had a very specific sound. And even when like I'm thinking of artists I used to listen to and still do, again, like very heavy on the guitars, distortion, lyrically driven, but vocally there's a certain like timbre in the singer's voice.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking of Nirvana.
I was thinking
of Green Day even.
Yeah.
Right. It's that same like timbre in their voice that gives it that specific sonic sound. Usually these songs, and again, I'm thinking more Green Day even. They have these big hooks in their chorus, and usually their songs have some type of, not always, but politically driven message they try to send, right? And that usually comes about in the chorus because that's the part everyone knows to sing.
Listen for, yeah.
So there is a very specific formula to these alternative rock bands, grunge, or any of the subgenres that fall within. It's the same particular formula. And it's a lot of the early artists. So I'm thinking of Nirvana, REM, who was said to be the first band to really do it. Again, like, do we really know?
Yeah.
No. But like that was, I think, when people started to say this is alternative to like what's out there.
Right.
Just because their sound was so different. You have the Smashing Pumpkins and Red Hot Chili Peppers, which is interesting because I would argue myself even like Red Hot Chili Peppers, you can say is alternative, but you can also say they're just rock.
That's what I was kind of saying that. I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
Because I know a little bit of Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I'm like, some of the stuff sounds like radio friendly. Like,
and they have gotten the radio, and they've gotten extremely popular.
Right.
But I think, and that's a distinction, we'll talk about this too, of between alternative and indie is alternative, can be played on the radio.
Right.
Like, and some artists, I think, want that to get out whatever their message is. So I'm thinking of like even, and not anymore, but like Green Day.
Yeah.
When they were big, like huge, they would be played on like Z100.
Yeah, I know. That's how I
like
developed
over and over again.
Yeah.
Or if you're from Long Island, 106.1 over and over again. Like they would just play their song. So it wasn't so much of a thing of like they were against, being on the mainstream. But I think it was more of the sound that they made was different than pop music that would be on the radio.
Gotcha.
And I think it alternative music kind of developed into these little subgenres. Like we have grunge, post-grunge, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Mudhoney, Stone Temple Pilots. And then you have the alternative indie, like Pixies, Sonic Youth, REM, Smashing Pumpkins, Dinosaur Jr. Never heard of them, but hey, Pavement. And then you have the British incoming, the Smiths, Cure, Radiohead, Oasis, Blur, Joy Division, and then funk alternative metal, which is like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Faith No More, Jane's Addiction, Primus, Tool. But all of that falls under really alternative.
Gotcha.
And you can really pick apart each of those bands. And again, it's pretty similar formula of, are the guitars driving the songs and do the singers have a very distinct,
powerful voice kind of thing? Gotcha.
That's politically charged. That's alternative.
Gotcha. I just realized something as we were talking about it. I started to realize of all the bands that you just named, I'm ashamed to admit that at least majority of the Brit alt or Brit pop, I know I'm more familiar with their music. Besides, like, and I just realized that about myself. I'm like, wow, okay, maybe I have a thing for the Radiohead and Oasis and the Smith.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like those bands like the Smiths, Cure, Oasis, when they weren't fighting each other, Radiohead, like they were huge.
Yeah,
like they were bigger than I would argue some of the American bands at that time.
I thought they were at some points. Yeah,
and when you think of this genre alternative, like these are some of the bands that you think of first, who kind of were the forefront leaders of pushing this genre, right? So that's nothing to be ashamed of.
Okay. I just realized something about myself.
Like I have no idea I need to research who Dinosaur Jr. is.
Yeah, I kind of thought
who is that?
Yeah, I was looking into the research. I was like, that's a name of a band? Like, it sounds like...
I guarantee you there's some of our friends are now listening to this and they're going to be like, you don't know who Dinosaur Jr. is?
We're getting judged right now.
Like I can feel it, even though it's not presently.
Do you think JJ?
Yeah. Like JJ is definitely going to. I don't know, Dinosaur Jr. Like, no, please send me all of the albums of Dinosaur Jr.
Yes.
And then I added here a little bit of, because it obviously alternative is still around today.
Correct.
And it's kind of even morphed more, I think. It still has a lot of those key elements of the guitars, the vocals, but I think it's also fused with like other styles. So for example, like I'm thinking of Linkin Park.
Yeah.
I would put them definitely as alternative rock.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially the earlier albums. But they kind of mixed in a little bit of hip hop there with the turntables, the scratching, rapping. But it's still overall like an alternative sound, right? Blink-182, which is interesting. I think their early albums are more alternative, and you can argue even their newer albums but they're kind of leaning more towards pop. Like they're getting into that like pop world.
Okay.
But their original sound was definitely alternative. Like, but the thing with them, which is interesting, it wasn't so much their lyrics were always politically charged. Because I mean, they would talk about really hilarious things or college humor things.
Yeah. They just evolved with time as the members grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha.
Green Day, definitely still listen to them. Foo Fighters, amazing band, phenomenal. Muse, which is interesting. But I do think like some of their earlier albums are definitely alternative, but they evolved over time and have become more, I don't even know, like just dark, futuristic. Like it's
very experimental.
Yeah, they had an album that was electronic driven, and it was
really.
It was a terrible album.
It
was not good. Like
I was a little peaked up, and then I was like, "Really, that's a very unique." And then you're like, "No, I wouldn't recommend."
They did some experimenting, and it did not work out for them. It was not good. They kind of fell off a little bit.
Yeah, I got it.
But anyway,
such time.
Yeah, and then of course Incubus, which without a doubt, very alternative, but. Very poetic lyrics with Incubus.
Really?
Yeah, very deep topics that you have to listen to it 2 or 3 times. Unless you're really good at poetry and you can just figure out
pick
the
up everything
meaning
right away.
Quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are some of the bands I listened to growing up. And I'm sure, I heard a lot of these bands growing up from my brother who lived in the room right next to me blasting most of these bands. But yeah, so that's kind of what I grew up listening to. What about you? Did you follow any of these or listen to these?
I was listening. Linkin Park was kind of like my introduction to, if I had to say as an independent listener, Linkin Park was definitely my first band.
Yeah.
I always grew up around rock. My dad used to play all kinds of, bands from the 80s and, from the 70s and 80s. But I think Linkin Park was my first introduction to like my first album I ever purchased. I think it was Hybrid Theory or Meteor. Which one came before? I think it was
Hybrid Theory.
Hybrid Theory. Yeah, that was my first introduction to their like sound.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I think, what was that store that was in the 90s, the music store you're allowed to put in headphones?
FYE.
Yes, thank you. Throwback. And I was listening to it and I was like, what is this? This is just like awesome. And then I spent my allowance on the Hybrid Theory. And then next thing you know, I'm jamming to this and I'm loving it. And I think that was my first introduction really into alt rock personally. Obviously, then I got into the Green Day, the Blink-182s. And I think that I especially loved Linkin Park in particular out of all of them because of, I felt the rawness / like, I fell in love with Chester's voice. Oh yeah, yeah, and the production level with combination of hip hop elements, which to me at the time was such a, I was like, they're doing that. Yeah, that was fire. I love that. So that was when I think of like alt rock, that's what I think of. My mind goes immediately to that. So yeah,
they were. Chester was such a perfectionist. There's a good documentary. It's on, I think it's on YouTube now, about Linkin Park when they first started out, where right before they got signed, they would spend like 12 hours in the rehearsal studio,
just practicing,
just getting the sounds right, and like he wouldn't let them leave until those songs were perfect. Because he deeply cared about his performances. Yeah. And he cared about the people he worked with. Right. So if it wasn't perfect, he was going to push you to get it to perfect. And that says a lot about, who Chester was. Yeah. R.I.P. But funny story about Linkin Park. I actually first heard them from a video game.
Really?
In Xbox, like original Xbox.
Which game
was
this?
It was a racing game. It was called Apex. And I remember this game.
Wow.
And I remember it was one of the tracks, like one of the racetracks, and all of a sudden it was In the End came on. And I was like, who is this band?
That's a good one. If anything, that's a good introduction.
Yeah. I found out, and I was like, I need to go immediately go get this album from FYE.
FYE. I miss you. Like
that experience.
Yeah. And we could have a separate episode about like, the classic record store, music store kind of like experience. Yeah. But yeah, I personally love that FYE. I just picked up the headphones and it was just a randoms, and I was just like, oh, what is this? I can't actually remember what song it was, but I remember seeing that cover art, and I just like, I gotta have this. Yeah. And it was like 12, 13. And I was like, I got allowance $20 a week from my dad, and I was just like, yep, there right away. He's wasting the entire $20. Yeah, new album. And I remember popping that in my CD player, and I was just lost, man. Yeah. It was just fantastic. And it's just like I just have a nostalgic experience with FYE and Linkin Park.
Never again.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's move on. I mean, that was the alternative world.
Mm-hmm.
Summarize all that. It's their sound was politically charged, driving guitars, driving lyrics, driving vocals, and a lot of subgenres came from that, but all had that same kind of sound to it.
Right.
And, I think the goal was not necessarily to get on the radio, but if they did, it's not a big deal. They didn't mind that. That was something cool, I think.
Right.
So why don't you bring us into indie rock, since that's a little bit more your expertise there.
I don't know if expertise would be the right word. But so as, we talk about indie rock. Now, people are confused, like, what is indie rock and whatnot. And it is a genre of alternative rock. Actually, it started in the 80s. It was more designed to be like an independent, like production level. Supposed to be more, raw guitars. The lyrics were more self-exploration, introverted thinking, like artistic freedom, and just like freedom and in general, like a little bit more like it sounds not distorted, but it definitely gives like a lo-fi recording. So it feels very like dated, but it feels like nostalgic at the same time.
Right.
So when we're talking about like the guitars, the instruments have a little bit of a reverb on them in the production level. Like I said, the introspective personal lyrics, and like emphasis on like mood and texture than aggressiveness or bold and like in your face that people think of when you think of alternative rock. They think against the grain, et cetera, where they take more of a vibe approach to their lyrics, which is, some of like my personal favorites. Before I even get a little further, I'm excited. My little quick backstory. My introduction to indie rock was like in the 2010s era.
Oh.
So we're talking about like the Two Door Cinema Club, Passion Pit, Phoenix, the top of my head. I think the Temper Trap, is that a part of? That's kind of indie.
That's indie.
Yeah, like that era of bands. That was like my introduction to indie.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, this is like, I like lyrics, and like whether it's across all genres, I like vulnerable music, and I like vulnerable lyrics. Anything of like evolution of self is always something that perks my ears a little bit. But when we're talking about like indie rock bands, the classics, we got to talk about the Smiths, the Cure, and REM as the early pioneers, as you mentioned earlier. They, like I said, it's under the umbrella of alternative rock. And then they gave, along with that, then you have the Pixies, and then Dinosaur Jr. again, which JJ's like, guys, how do you not know this?
Dinosaur Jr.
I got it. So, yeah, I know. And please, right, yeah, because it's killing me now. Like the back of my head. But yeah, so, we're talking about the 1980s and 90s. They were the foundation for the indie rock scene that was slowly developing. And then when we go to the 2000s, where indie starts becoming more mainstream, we're talking about Arcade Fire, the Stokes, the White Stripes, and and other bands such as, Modest Mouse, which I'm familiar with. That always has been an infectious band, in my opinion. And then obviously in the early 2000s, Arctic Monkeys, the Franz Ferdinand, the Libertines, pronouncing that right? But the UK scene, and the reason why, like these bands help create the indie scene more familiar, like towards the American ears. And because it's always been around, but I think it started becoming more like played on the radio, bands here and there that had this sound. And then it started to develop into more of like its own niche or its own lane. And it didn't need to feel like it had to fight for real estate in the ears of the public. But yeah. But and now that when we're talking about indie rock, there's also versions of it. So we have alternative and indie pop, which is like Tame Impala, MGMT, Phoenix, The Foster the People, love them personally. Torches, if you ever get a moment, go listen to that. Two Door Cinema Club. I don't think there's a single album. I don't think there's a single album I don't like by them. I cannot. I like the one with the cat is I've played that front to back to front, like thousands of times, and I will never like Something Good Can Work is like it's stuck in my head. I just love it, and it's just they're just a great job. They have a great ability of just making great music that is designed for almost any type of like vibe. You having friends over at like in the afternoon, put it on. If you're cooking, put it on. If you're reading, I mean,
put it on.
Some of the stuff is a little dancey, so I would be very careful. But if you try to relax, it's gonna make that toe tap. But anyway,
yeah, I think they were one of the first bands, I guess, from the indie style that I really really enjoyed. I think it's their sound overall. Like I don't know what it is. I guess it's the dance vibes that they have, but also like just the effects they put on the production value, right? So the effects they put on their vocals, and the drums, how they can almost make the drums sound like a drum machine, but it's not. It's like it's the actual acoustic drums. They're just very clever with it, and then they're also great live. Like I've heard them live, and they're fantastic.
Really?
Yeah.
That is on my bucket list of things to do. Is Two Door Cinema Club live? I just need to hear the song "Sun." Something Good Could Work. I have a few other tracks, but those two, like if they do that in that set, I'd lose my mind.
Yeah. No, you need to go see them. They're unreal.
Okay.
They're a lot of fun.
Okay. But
yeah. So what would you say?
Okay.
And I don't know if you're getting there.
Sure.
Stop me, but
please.
What is the big difference here between alternative and indie?
I think it's if we had to put a Venn diagram and ask ourselves what is indie, what is alternative.
Yeah.
I think if you want to summarize it simply, I think it's intent. I think it's about the image and the sound that you're trying to project. Because they're alternative is going against the grain. They're trying to be rebellious. They're trying to be unique and edgy. And they're not doing it for just like sakes of being cool, but they're doing it with a purpose.
Right.
Whether they're bringing light up an issue that I think that falls into the radar, or about, an event or a story. They have the uncomfortable opinion, but they do it in an infectious, sometimes like in your face way, which I think is absolutely courageous and amazing. And then indie is going to appeal to something more nostalgic, or it's going to appeal to something a little bit more for an introvert, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's designed to, I don't say it's designed, but it gives the sense that we're trying to get to a place that feels like either homey or it makes you feel good about yourself.
Right.
And I think, like I said, I think that's the indie sound with the lo-fi production. The drums are not as aggressive comparatively to alt rock, but they still have a vibe where it's still a toe tapper. It's still something that's gonna make you nod and made you realize like you're in a groove, but the groove is less aggressive or less in your face. I mean, that's just my opinion. So
no, and I agree. I think that's right on for sound. I would also mention, if you did say this, stop me. but I think it's that whole like do it yourself culture,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
like they don't want to go the way of going with a label. They're going to do it themselves, or at least start that way, right?
Yes,
because a
very
lot of
much.
these artists have
Success.
started that way and
Yeah.
then eventually got signed because of either distribution or they needed help.
Correct.
And eventually you get to a point where it's like, yeah, we need a backing.
Right.
But I think, but actually not everybody. Some of them either just kept doing what they're doing,
Right.
and they were happy with that, or some of them created their own labels themselves.
Yeah, that is true. They did. You're right. You're right.
Like I'm thinking, I think Death Cab for Cutie made their own label to release their own music, which, you know, if that's one way to stick it to the system, it's.
I love that. I mean, that's a little bit alt rock vibes.
Yeah,
a little bit.
But that's part of it. That's part of it.
100%.
And
You're right.
And I think the whole point of this is like there's definitely overlap with alternative and indie.
Yeah.
Because the sounds can be very similar or the same. It's just what you said. It's your intent. Like how are you going about this?
Right.
Because alternative bands mostly don't mind if they get on the mainstream.
Correct. They're like, cool.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
They're
like really cool about it.
Give us the money, brother. I don't know why they would sound like that, but you know, they might. I don't know.
Yeah. You're right. But yes, I love that alt rock is, you know, they're like I said, the fact that they were willing to say, hey, we know what the mainstream sounds like and we don't care. We don't care. And we're going to, and I wish, I'm sure there's a documentary and I will find it.
Yeah.
About the 90s rock, like rebellious era, especially grunge related.
Yeah.
To be like, this became a kind of that distortion, the rawness in the guitars and the vulnerable lyrics that are either, you know, like I said, deep or a frustration about something,
right?
That became mainstream. I'm sure there is, but that's alt rock's like energy and spirit is we know we guys like this formula. We're gonna redo our own formula,
right?
And your old formula's gonna have to compete with ours.
Yeah,
I love that for them. Yeah.
It's like F the system.
Yeah, exactly.
Energy.
Yeah.
No cursing here. I'm using music.
No. We're polite.
Keep it clean. Real clean.
We're keeping it clean. But just to wrap up on the indie genre. So yeah, we talked about the indie alt pop version and this dream pop where we got Beach House, M83, the XX, Grimes, Passion Pit, personal favorite of mine. And for remainder of the indie folk alternative, we got Bon Iver, we got the Fleet Foxes, and Mumford and Sons, which they dropped an album. I have not listened to it yet, but I've heard some okay things about it. Prize Fighter. It released yesterday.
Okay.
I think. Yes. Oh, technically it'd be Friday for everyone.
Gotta check that out.
Yeah. But that's it. So just indie rock, you're right. It was like a do-it-yourself culture. It was a niche argument or a niche sound, and then it became mainstream by, you know, that had that raw, very lo-fi but nostalgic sound. So, but that's indie rock in a nutshell, if we had to look at it.
Yeah, and I that's fantastic. So let's go into. I mean, we kind of talked about some of this already.
Yeah.
Our next segment, which is just we talked about what's the difference, but I guess this is where we can kind of talk about our personal preferences of what do you think's better?
Oof, that's a different question. Oof. Okay, so want to take the lead on that one?
Yeah, you know, I'll go for it. It's hard, and I think it's hard for a few reasons. One, there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the artist I'm listening to. I don't know if I can necessarily say which genre is better because there's some artists from each genre that I like more than the other, like another artist from the opposing genre, if that makes sense. So it's hard. But I think I will lean more towards indie rock.
Really?
Yeah, I'll go that way.
Okay.
And I say that because there's a lot of artists from that genre that I like more. So 1975. Death Cab for Cutie.
Yeah.
The Strokes. Arcade Fire, the White Stripes. Like,
oh yeah,
I
White Stripes.
love those bands.
Yeah,
You also have Two Door Cinema Club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So the people, like, these are those are bands
you're more familiar with. Yeah.
Now, not to say though, alternative rock though. I mean, you have my favorite band of all time, which is Linkin Park.
Yes, of course.
And that carries a lot of weight.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, like, yes, I still listen to Linkin Park. I listen to primarily all, I guess, what you would call indie rock at this point. So I guess if I had to pick, like, if you tied me down for some reason, like, what are you gonna do?
Choose.
I guess I would go with indie rock.
I feel you. I agree.
You know what I mean, just because of the artists that have come out of that genre.
Right, and I, you know what, that was a different perspective than I thought, but you, as you were talking, I was like, dang, it's hard to argue against that. You have a very good point there, and I agree with you on that.
So you join in the indie rock scene?
I'm gonna see if I could try to seem like I'm in the middle.
Fair,
just to be
fair
different.
enough.
But
fair enough.
In the sense that, like, I've been around rock growing up to some degree. My dad played all kinds of rock bands, and I grew up around it. But my first introduction into, like, my own listening, like, palette was Linkin Park. That was my introduction into, like, alt rock, the et cetera, et cetera. And then different people told me, like, if you like that, you should check out Nirvana. If you like that, you should check out this. And it just, that was like my start. Like, that was like, that would fueled my interest. I'm like, oh, well, let me hear this band. I'll go. And this is when I go to FYE. And then I started developing to Metallica and all these other bands. And I was just like, that was like my introduction. And it was a great introduction, like, band to choose.
Yeah.
But as I got older, I started, like, I mean, teenage angst, you know, the whole rebellious attitude, it was speaking to me. But as I became an adult, I started to gravitate towards a lot of indie bands. I didn't want to admit it, but you're talking about Two Door Cinema Club, Foster the People, Temper Trap, Passion Pit. Like, these bands were like from 20, if you were able to dig up like an old Android phone from 2010 to 2015 and it said it was assigned to Patrick, you're going to see a lot of these bands in there. Like Phoenix, just as 1901 was that the album.
Oh,
like, there's so much like these helped define like the 2010s for me. Yeah. Like, musically. And then it followed me. So I'm gonna, as much as I want to say I'm in the middle, I do lean indie rock too. Yeah. And I don't want to upset any people who are like, Blink 182 and all these sounds are the amazing alt rock, and they're phenomenal. Yeah. But it's just, I think I catch myself listening more towards indie rock more consistently versus alt. Yeah. Personally.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our preference.
Yeah, there we go.
No, I absolutely agree with all that. I think alternative definitely set the stage for a lot of things. Yeah. And those bands definitely paved the way, I think, for a lot of artists. But it's definitely evolved. And I think a lot of the indie artists with their DIY or do-it-yourself, DIY attitude have really kind of shaped it even more. Right. And have evolved the style even more.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly right.
So.
Yeah. And a little bit, we talk a little bit more about alt rock, and I should have mentioned this. Even in the 2010 to 2015 indie rock dominating of my Android, music library, another band that was in the 2010s that I forgot that released an album yesterday. Oh. Which is The Neighborhood. And we mentioned
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And I'm a diehard, like, Neighborhood fan. I'm sorry. Like, I'm talking about the shirt, merch, everything.
Apologize.
Yeah.
That's great.
Like,
I got to get into them.
Yeah. If there is an album that, if anyone wants to understand, their 2013 album, it's going to have a weird symbols. It's called I Love You. It's the title of the album, but it's phenomenal. Afraid, Sweater Weather. There's obviously, that was the single. There is a lot of great music on that album. If you have the chance, it's just when we talk about alt rock, I think The Neighborhood was in the 2010s. Yeah. That was my alt rock band for me. So yeah,
I'll check them out. I don't know how I missed them, but somehow I did.
Yeah. Right. If it wasn't for the single Sweater Weather, I don't know how I came across it, but that was the single that drew me in. And I was like, oh, I love this song. Yeah. And then they'd release the album. And then I was just like, okay, great. this is going to be the next album I'm going to play repeatedly until someone tells me, please throw that out.
Right. Get rid of that, please.
Yeah. But yeah.
All right. So that's something for me to check out, and something for everyone else to check out. We're going to throw all these artists on our playlist. Music Musings
Spotify.
Podcast, Spotify playlist.
Mm-hmm.
So excited about that. Also, I'm going to throw this out there.
Go for it.
Going to get some engagement here with our listeners. Email us at musicmusingspodcast@gmail.com. Send us, what genre do you primarily listen to? Is it more indie, alternative? It can also be any other genre. And then give us 2 of your favorite bands from that genre.
Yeah, please.
And if you send us something, we'll shout you out on our next episode.
We'll shout you out. We'll talk about it. And we'll add, maybe if the songs are also fantastic, we'll add it to the playlist as well.
We might make fun of you a little bit.
Just
a little bit.
It depends.
Right. It depends who you are.
Yeah. It depends. No, it doesn't depend. It depends on who they choose. That's what I'm judging.
Okay.
I'm looking at it like, if they say a genre and they say like a band or an artist that I think, I'm just joking. I'm not going to tease anyone.
I might. No, please.
Yeah.
Send us favorite genre, 2 of your favorite artists from that genre, and we'll give you a shout out in our next episode.
Yeah. But before we move on to, I just want to ask you, this is a question for us.
Here we go.
I guess both of us. What do you think is about made us switch from alt rock to indie rock at this time? I'm asking myself this, but I'm sure you're got an answer too.
I think it might be a few things. I think one, how the music industry right now is laid out and can be considered almost a predatory type situation, where it finds these, young, talented artists and gives them these high hopes of, you sign with us, we're going to give you so much money, it's going to be a great life, you're set up for life. And that's not true at all. Where a lot of what happens is, they give you a lot of things up front. And on the back end of it, when either maybe you're not as popular anymore, you start to decline, they actually ask for money back. And it's in your contract. And if you don't read it,
100%.
And that's why a lot of these new artists, you got to really read these contracts they give you, because they are going to
legally whatever they can
pull one over on you.
100%.
And I think it's a problem. So I think a lot of these new artists are doing a lot of indie style music or indie style mentality because they don't want to be taken advantage of.
And I understand. You're right.
And we live in an age where, technology has advanced to a point where if you're very savvy and you're smart about it, you don't necessarily need a label.
No.
If you do the work and you are really good with technology and recording or whatever, you can get your stuff out there.
Yeah.
You can get a huge following without a label.
Yeah, you can. There's ways, exactly. I 100% agree with you said. You can get your own music up on Spotify, Apple Music, every, place that you can think of, they streams. You can get it, figure out a deal with a distribution company where it's just simply you pay a certain amount, a pop fee, or maybe a monthly fee, and they get your music there. They'll help you with promotion if they need you, but you could do it on a base-to-base. And then it's also with technology, a lot of these bands and artists, they're promoting themselves on TikTok, Instagram, and they're promoting their music. So it's that's marketing and promotion right there. Yeah. So the fact that I love that the new artists today and bands are you know what, we'll get the equipment, we'll get the time at the studio, we'll set up tour dates, we'll set up our local, bars and, and do these little, they get their own name out, and then they realize oh, we don't need a middleman.
Right.
We have a lane for individual services that a label would provide. Right. Which is, I like that, and which is becoming more of the norm.
Yeah. It's tough. And I mean, granted, I've never been a signed artist, but I know some of the business there, and it is extremely difficult. Yeah. And you really got to know what you're getting yourself into, because it's not rainbows and butterflies. It is people trying to take advantage of you at all times.
Yeah. And I think when people, and this is probably a little bit of a rude thing to say, but I personally dislike when someone who does not have any deep appreciation for music tries to push their opinion into artist's ear or a band's ear. So if like someone who does not listen to that genre of music, I don't think you should be involved in the conversation of how the the artistry of the band or the group or the individual should go. Like, cause it seems like it's always, in my opinion, it feels like it can go in a direction where they'll slip away from what made them creative to begin with. Instead, they're looking at stats, stream numbers, and and being viral versus
it's
culture.
Yeah, you got your business people.
Yep.
And that's all they care about, the numbers, the money. And listen, if you're signed and you're at that level, there's gonna have to be that person. Like they just need to exist.
100%.
Because it they don't work for free and you gotta make money.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like there's companies that are out there who will they know how much money they can make off you, and they're gonna push it to make even more off you because they can, to the point where they don't care at the end of the day. Like, you're gonna walk away with nothing. You might get some money up front, but like at the end of it, you're not gonna have anything.
No, 100%.
So, that's kind of how it works. But yeah. So anyway, I think it's just the reason we're seeing this large uptick in like indie music is just because of what these companies are doing.
Right.
So
100%.
We'll see what happens. We'll see how music changes to fight against that, and go on from there.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Yeah. But I think with that, please send us your favorite genre to artists, and we'll shout you out. But other than that, see you next time.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you have an idea for an intro or an outro that we could play on our show, please send to musicmusingspodcast@gmail.com.
If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please email us at musicmusingspodcast@gmail.com.